You didn't lose respect because you were cruel. You lost it because you were too nice. You thought kindness would protect you. You thought patience would earn loyalty. You thought understanding everyone would make them understand you. But that's not what happened. Instead, people learned something else. They learned how much you would tolerate, how far they could push, how little it cost to disappoint you. And slowly, without noticing, you stopped being respected. Not because you were bad, not because you were harsh, but because you were predictable. Stoicism doesn't reward niceness. It rewards self-respect. There is a painful truth most people never admit. Being too nice is rarely kindness. It is fear wearing a polite mask. Fear of conflict, fear of rejection, fear of disapproval, fear of being seen as difficult. So you say yes when every part of you wants to say no. You agree when your instincts are screaming in protest. You smile while resentment quietly builds inside you. And over time, that resentment becomes something heavier. Exhaustion, bitterness, confusion. You begin to wonder, why do people take me for granted? Why do they treat me like this? Why do they respect others but not me? From a Stoic perspective, the answer is uncomfortable. You trained them to. Not intentionally, not maliciously, but through your silence, your compliance, your unwillingness to set limits. Because avoidance slowly destroys the self. Every time you avoid conflict, you abandon a piece of your truth. Every time you swallow your words, you silence a piece of your identity. Every time you tolerate what feels wrong, you weaken your own boundaries. And over time, you become someone even you don't recognize. The Stoics never called this virtue. They called it weakness. The human brain is wired for approval. For most of history, being rejected by the group meant isolation, and isolation meant death. So your nervous system still treats disapproval like danger. It whispers, don't upset them, don't say no, keep the peace. Even when keeping the peace costs your dignity. So you become agreeable, flexible, accommodating. And at first, people like it. They say you're easy to work with, easy to talk to, easy to be around. But something subtle happens. Respect begins to fade. Because humans don't just respond to kindness, they respond to strength. And when someone senses that you have no boundaries, no firmness, no limits, they don't feel admiration, they feel permission. Permission to interrupt you, permission to ignore you, permission to disappoint you. Not always consciously, but instinctively. Another trap is the illusion of moral superiority. Many people believe, if I'm always kind, I must be a good person. But Stoics never equated goodness with submission. Virtue requires strength. Virtue requires courage, honesty, discipline. Sometimes virtue requires saying no. Sometimes virtue requires confrontation. Sometimes virtue requires being misunderstood. And that is where most nice people fail. Not because they are bad, but because they are afraid. Modern culture deepens this confusion. We are praised for being accommodating, putting others first, never causing discomfort, always being agreeable. But no one talks about the cost. Burnout, resentment, loss of identity. You become someone who exists for others, someone who adapts constantly, someone who bends endlessly. Until one day you look in the mirror and feel like a stranger to yourself. The Stoics warned about this long ago. Marcus Aurelius said, be tolerant with others and strict with yourself. Notice the order: not strict with others and tolerant with yourself, not endlessly forgiving others while neglecting your own dignity, but tolerant with others and disciplined within. Epictetus went even further. He said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish. Because the moment you set boundaries, some people will call you rude. The moment you stop over-explaining, some people will call you cold. The moment you say no, some people will call you selfish. Not because you are wrong, but because they benefited from your weakness. Seneca offered a warning that cuts straight to the truth. He who is too compliant will be trampled. Not might be trampled, will be. Because the world respects firmness, not cruelty, not aggression, but firmness. The kind of calm, quiet strength that says, this is where I stand. Most people believe something false. They believe, if I'm nice, people will respect me. Saying no makes me selfish. Avoiding conflict keeps peace. But reality shows the opposite. Niceness without boundaries invites exploitation. Saying yes to everything destroys self-respect. Avoiding conflict creates silent resentment. And silent resentment is the slowest poison. Stoicism offers a correction. Respect comes from clarity, not compliance. When people know your limits, they know your value. When people know you can walk away, they think twice before mistreating you. Boundaries are not cruelty. They are clarity. They are the line that says, this is who I am, and this is what I will not tolerate. Short discomfort prevents long suffering. A 5-second no can save you 5 years of resentment. But most people choose the opposite. They choose short-term peace and long-term misery. Because they want to be liked. Stoics didn't chase approval. They chased virtue. They didn't ask, will they like me? They asked, am I acting in accordance with reason and character? Because approval changes, opinions shift, crowds turn, but character remains. Imagine 2 people. One says yes to everything, smiles constantly, never disagrees. The other is calm, respectful, but firm. They say no when necessary. They speak honestly. They walk away from disrespect. Which one feels more stable? Which one feels more trustworthy? Which one commands more respect? Not the loudest one, not the nicest one, the firm one. Because strength feels safe. Weakness feels unstable. And humans at their core respect stability. The Stoic path is not about becoming cold. It is about becoming clear. Clear in your values, clear in your limits, clear in your actions. You can still be kind. You can still be generous. You can still be compassionate, but never at the cost of your self-respect. Because the moment you sacrifice your dignity to keep someone comfortable, you teach them a dangerous lesson. You teach them that your boundaries are optional. And once people learn that, they rarely forget it. So, the Stoic learns a different way. They say no without guilt, stand firm without anger, walk away without explanation. Because they are not heartless, but because they understand something simple. Self-respect is the foundation of every healthy relationship. Without it, kindness becomes submission, patience becomes weakness, love becomes self-erasure. And that is not virtue. That is quiet self-destruction. Here is the rule: cold, short, unforgettable. Be kind, but never at the cost of self-respect. Say no without guilt. Stand firm without anger. walk away without explanation. Because niceness without strength invites disrespect, and Stoics refuse to live small.